This is Zayn from Fight Hub TV, powered by stagefront.vip, joined by Dan Hardy. Dan, how do you feel being out here in Riyadh?
I'm excited to be here. You know, it's an honor to be a part of it. I'm kind of keeping an open mind, not sure what to expect. Like, they've pulled out all the stops for this event. It's been incredible, the build up to it, the two characters involved. Of course, you know, Tyson does an amazing job at selling these things, but Ngannou's got a presence that you can't deny, and I feel like that's done a lot to sell this fight as well. Yeah. I'm just excited to be here, and I mean, who knows what's going to happen next.
Yeah. In terms of the actual fight playing out, how do you expect it to go with Tyson Fury and Ngannou?
You know, I think Fury's going to start quite slow. I don't think he's going to open up for the first couple of 3 rounds. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays to the cameras a little bit and to the crowd, and you know, he puts on a bit of a show for a few rounds, but I don't think he's going to open up too much, because that's where Ngannou's going to be most powerful and most unpredictable. You know, a lot of people are saying that he looks really slow hitting the pads, but if you watch his fight, when he decides to go, he goes very, very quickly, and Tyson's going to know that. So I think we're going to get sort of 2 or 3 rounds of Tyson feeling him out. I think he's going to start to establish his jab and try and hold him off a little bit and start to gauge where those big shots are coming from. Yeah. And then it'll be a case of him trying to find the best shots to dismantle him. I think the rear uppercut's going to be a big key. Yeah. I saw him working that old Larry Holmes little right hook on the pads in the ring the other day. So I think he's got a few tricks for when he's under pressure. Yeah. And I think we're going to see him do a bit of rope-a-dope, you know, maybe hanging out in the corner and letting Ngannou work a little bit.
Yeah, sort of entertaining the crowd.
Exactly that.
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of the training footage, you mentioned some fans thought he looked slow. What did you think of the footage?
I mean, it's so difficult to tell when you're just seeing a little tiny clip of something. Like, I know Ngannou from fights. I know how fast he is and how dangerous he is. Of course, that speed and that power does drop off in a fight, especially when fatigue starts to set in. But if he decides to put his foot on the gas in that first round, he's going to be a handful for anybody. Yeah. Even if they've got their hands up, even if they've got a good base and a good stance. Yeah. He generates so much force, and they come from such unusual angles as well. Yeah. You know, like Tyson's used to traditional boxing skill sets. Even Deontay Wilder, his basic fundamental skill sets, he follows the same paths. Ngannou doesn't. You know, you look at his knockout over Rosenstrike or Overeem. I mean, those punches are coming from the canvas and they're taking people's heads off. Yeah. And that's what he's capable of in first, second, third round for sure.
And Ngannou, like you mentioned, he throws from wild angles at times in MMA. Obviously, that was a different sport. But do you feel that as a boxer, it will be quite difficult to adapt to those punches?
Yeah, I think it will. You know, I mean, you know, boxing defense is good against boxers, but Ngannou comes at such weird angles that it's difficult to predict. Yeah. And you know, the other thing as well is that if you look at the fights that he's had against the likes of Overeem and Rosenstrike, I mean, they're not beginners. I mean, Rosenstrike's had 80 kickboxing matches. Like, he's been dealing with heavyweight strikers for his whole career already. Yeah. And then he comes up against someone like Ngannou, who just puts his foot on the gas and revs the engine, and it's like nothing we've ever seen before. Yeah. I just don't think we could underestimate him. But for me, the unpredictability of his movement and his surprise factor is the key.
Yeah. In terms of the power, a lot's been made of Francis Ngannou being the biggest puncher in combat sports history, even, right? Do you feel that power will translate from MMA gloves to boxing gloves?
I don't see why it wouldn't. Yeah. There's a drawback and a benefit, of course. I mean, the bigger gloves, you're going to hit a bigger surface area, which means that the power's not going to be concentrated onto a small target. Yeah. But then I remember watching Canelo fighting against Callum Smith, and he was just hammering his arms, and I'm thinking to myself, I can't do that in MMA gloves because I'm going to break something, right? Yeah. So there's also some forgiveness when you've got that kind of power. You've got them solid wraps on with the big gloves. He can throw those hands as hard as he wants and not really worry as much about breaking his hands as he would in the 4-ounce glove.
Yeah. In terms of MMA, I just want to move on to MMA a little bit. We saw the top pound-for-pound guys, Islam and Volk, face off. Volkanovski on short notice, but were you surprised by that head kick knockout in the first round?
You know, I wasn't, if I'm honest. I just felt like Makhachev's got his number. You know, I scored the first 4 rounds for him in their first fight. I thought Volk had a really good 5th round, and I feel like, you know, he finished the fight on such a high that he felt like he was going to pick up where he left off. But Makhachev's got all that time to adapt and to read his game and to see what he did wrong, you know, to review the fight with his coaches and with Khabib, and you know he's taken a lot of information from that first fight that he was definitely going to use in this second time around. Yeah. And I remember doing the breakdown for the first fight, and I was talking about Makhachev's body kicks to head kicks. It's something very consistent that he's done, but he's gotten better at it very recently. Yeah. And I feel like, I mean, he's got to be the pound for pound. He's got to be the top of the pound for pound rankings. I don't know how he's not, honestly.
Yeah, now John Jones is #1, but obviously he's out for apparently 8 months. which I mean, I do think Islam should be now number one. In terms of the co-main event, Khamzat Chimaev taking quite a big step up, I would say. But it was Usman who was top pound for pound, like what, 18 months ago?
Yep.
And he did it, what, a 10-8 round in the first. What did you make of that performance?
I was blown away, honestly. I just didn't think anybody would be able to do that to Usman in any weight class. I mean, I do feel like, you know, if you get Usman, you know, you give him a training camp and you give him the hindsight of that experience against Chimaev, the next time around would be a very different fight.
Yeah.
But for Chimaev to be able to go out and manhandle him in that way was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's going to take a special athlete that can withstand that early pressure and then start to pull it back in the later rounds. Like we might not see someone beat Chimaev until he's in a 5-round fight.
Yeah.
That last 10 minutes might be his kryptonite because he's so ferocious in the first round. You know, if he didn't get that choke against Kevin Holland, he may well have gassed himself out. You know? They're the kind of things that I'm watching out for. If someone's going to beat him, you're going to have to get him tired first.
Yeah, with Gilbert Burns, he went 3 rounds. With Usman, he's gone 3 rounds. How do you rate his gas tank? Is it a little bit suspect?
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think, to be honest, if you start the first round and you go at 90 miles an hour, you're going to get tired no matter who you are and how good your conditioning is, right? Like the reason why we have an extra 2 rounds with the championship rounds is because these guys are well conditioned to fight over 15 minutes at the correct pace to work hard for 15 minutes. What we're seeing from Chimaev is a really intense first 5 minutes and then a drop off for the next 2.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't show me a championship mindset right now. But he will get there, and when he does, then he's going to be able to pace himself out. And when you've got a Chimaev that doesn't go 100 mile an hour out the gate, he goes 20 mile an hour and then revs the engine to 50 and then pulls back to 10, then revs it to 80. That's a person that you can't predict and you can't control, and that makes him so much more dangerous.
Yeah. So we're speaking about weight classes. I just want to get your thoughts on Terence Crawford, probably the top pound for pound guy in boxing, calling out Canelo at 168. Do you think he could beat Canelo?
You know, I mean, the thing is, with Terence Crawford, he's such a supremely talented boxer. He's got such incredible boxing skills, both offensively and defensively. It's going to take someone like a Canelo to excite him to get back in there and really challenge himself. He wants someone that's got thunderous punches, that stands his ground and, you know, rips to the body like Canelo does, because that's where Crawford's going to show what he's really capable of.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's constantly chasing that moment to show the next level of his skill set, and I don't even think we've seen a bit of it yet. If he decided to cross over to mixed martial arts, like you've seen his wrestling, you've seen his takedown defense, I mean, I just think he would take to that as well. I think he's a supreme athlete. I think he's probably one of the best combat sports athletes on the planet across all combat sports right now, and if he wants to fight Canelo, let him go and do it. I would certainly tune in and watch.
How would you expect that fight to play out if that did happen?
Well, I mean, Canelo's going to try and take the space away from him, isn't he? He's going to try and cut him down and slow him down. Something that I love about Canelo's style is that he doesn't specifically focus on the main targets for boxing. He's not going for the head and the liver shots. He's going for arms and shoulders. He's slowing down people's weapons. And, you know, you watch him against Kovalev up against the ropes, he uses his eyes to feint things. It's so beautiful. Dips to the body and comes up and cracks him in the face. Yeah. An incredible boxer. And I feel like he's actually moving the sport forward in a few different ways by the way that he fights.
Yeah.
I don't know whether Terence Crawford will be able to withstand that kind of force and whether he can withstand it over rounds.
Yeah.
But then the real question is whether Canelo can land those clean shots on Crawford with his defense being so tight.
If I had to urge you for a prediction for that fight, if it were to play out, who would you back?
You know, Canelo is one of my favorites to watch. I would really struggle to pick against him, but I don't know. Terence Crawford is a special talent, and he might just be the one to do it.
Yeah.
In MMA, I'm picking Terence Crawford over Canelo for sure, but in boxing, I don't know. I'm a lot more 50-50.
Oh yeah, thanks for your time, Dan.
No worries.
Thank you so much for watching this video, and make sure to subscribe for more videos of your favorite fighters over here on Fight Up TV, and give us a follow online as well at Fight Up TV on Twitter and on Instagram. We appreciate it, guys.